Welcome to Insight Marketing Success, the podcast where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience, from vision to execution.
Hi, Maisie. Welcome to IMS.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
All right, Maisie, I had the opportunity to meet with you, but for our audience, tell us who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Maisie. I'm the director of marketing at the Bruning Law Firm. We're a personal injury law firm based in St. Louis, but we take clients all across the Midwest. Our purpose is really to help anyone who's been injured. We take all types of accidents, so car accidents, work injuries, burn injuries, and just help guide people through a really stressful time, make sure that they're getting compensated fairly for their injuries.
Wonderful. So tell us about the journey from your education to your first job to now being at the Bruning Law.
Yeah, sure. So I went to UT Austin. My undergrad, I had two majors. I majored in math and economics, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do with those. I also got a master's degree in economics from Georgetown University. I ended up in digital marketing kind of randomly. I was just applying for different jobs and didn't really know what it was. This was when Google Ads was, very new. It definitely wasn't like a class you could take in college. You had to learn on the job. And I just really fell in love with it. There's so much data. It's exciting every day to look at the numbers. You get direct feedback. So I think it really spoke to kind of my math analytical brain. And so since then, I've stayed in digital marketing. I have worked at several lead aggregator companies in the legal space. And then Bruning Law Firm was actually a client of ours, which is how I met them. And I've been working directly with them for several years now.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Okay, so tell us about, initially when you first moved to Bruning Law, your marketing approach, how do you enhance their brand?
Right. So, it's interesting because for most of the time at the Bruning Law Firm, we have focused on direct response marketing, so very bottom of the funnel. I think we've always had a competitive advantage by being really good at digital advertising, specifically on Google Ads. And that's really what's brought in most of our cases. It was really just about a year ago that we started branding throughout the state of Missouri. And so it's been a really exciting journey now that we have been through over the past year.
Okay. Tell us about a marketing strategy where you expected a return this size and you actually received this size, but you learned something.
I mean, that's often the case with digital marketing is that when you first start out on any new channel, there's so many different channels. There's Google Ads, there's programmatic, there's display, there's YouTube, there's Facebook. You kind of don't know what you're going to get at first, and you also have to be able to optimize around the data. So I think at first you usually make a larger investment and don't see a return for a couple of months until you start to bring in that data that you can optimize around. I would say for most of our marketing dollars, we do now expect a positive ROI on that. That's our direct response digital ads that we do on Google, LSAs. But we do now have this pretty large branding budget where, we're more realistic with that. We don't necessarily expect an immediate ROI on our branding dollars because building trust in the community takes time.
Yeah. Okay. How do you approach storytelling in your brand communications?
Yeah, so we really try to be authentic to who we are. I think we've spent a lot of time thinking about, what feels authentic to us. We know that we don't want to follow the approach that other attorneys have taken, which can be pretty aggressive. That's really not us. We are authoritative, but we're also empathetic. And what we've really tried to do is, anyone can say that they're the best, that they are this amazing business, this amazing law firm. We've really tried to use third-party proof to show that. I think it's more meaningful that way. So, for example, we're about to be on the Inc. 5000 list 2 years in a row. We've been on Best Places to Work. We've got over 1,500 five-star reviews on Google. And we've tried to use that in our storytelling about our brand because I think it means a lot more coming from others than if we just say we're great, versus when other people can say that for us.
You beat me to my next question, which was how do you use storytelling? So you highlight case studies, or how do you make those case studies or those stories alive?
Yeah, so we do testimonials with our clients. We highlight our 5-star reviews. We also do YouTube videos. So on those, we've highlighted some of those awards and recognitions that we've received. We're so proud of being one of the best places to work in St. Louis. We're so proud of our growth that got us on the Inc. 5000. So yeah, we've really tried to highlight that. We also just recently became the official partner of the Mizzou Tigers. So we're very excited to start using that in our branding and our storytelling because so many of us at the firm were Mizzou grads. And so that feels very authentic to us as well.
Wonderful. All right. Who would be the ideal client for your law firm?
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about an injury like a car accident or a work injury is it can happen to anyone. There is no specific demographic where we're like, we want females age 30 to 40. It doesn't really work like that. So there's not a specific demographic. And to be a good client, really, it's just have you been physically injured in an accident that wasn't your fault? And if so, it's really important these days, I think, to use an attorney. I think insurance companies use attorneys. It's by nature in their best interest to pay out as little as possible for these types of injury claims. And so it's just kind of the logical thing to do to use an attorney if you're someone that's been injured, because you don't know how long these injuries are going to have an impact on your life. You don't know what sort of medical bills you might incur a couple of years down the line. And so using an attorney ensures that you're getting the proper compensation.
So it makes sense, right?
Right.
All right, so let's talk about Maisie as a person, the character, okay? So let's imagine that you go to a restaurant and you're in one of those booths where you cannot see in front of you or behind you, but you suddenly hear familiar voices that are talking about you. And you realize it's your 3 best friends, and they start saying things about you, positive things about you. So what would you hope they will say about you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would hope that they would say that I'm reliable, dependable, authentic, like to who I am, fun to be around, I think. Yeah.
Okay, very good. You are a mom of 2 boys, if I understand it right.
A girl and a boy. I have a 9-year-old girl and a 7-year-old boy.
Okay, so 2 boy and a girl.
Yeah.
And life is good, but sometimes you have your downs, right? So up and downs. So when your life goes up and down in your either personal or professional life, how do you ground yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think kids are kind of the answer to that. Like, young kids, they don't really care if you're having a hard day at work. And so in some ways it's a good distraction that you still have to make dinner and take them to soccer practice and do all the things of being a parent, because I think it's just a reminder that there's a lot more to life than the work ups and downs. And I do really enjoy working and care about my work a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's family and kids that matter more, I think.
Good. Now you have experience, quite a bit of experience. And I mean, you went to grad and undergrad, but let's assume that you're able to whisper in your ear when you did your graduate work, when you just graduated. What would you tell yourself?
I think what I would tell myself, which I really tried to do throughout my career, is just to learn as much as possible about everything you're exposed to, even if it's not necessarily your responsibility at work. I know, like, I learned how to code landing pages and HTML and CSS and all that kind of stuff. And I think just picking up those little extra skills along the way, even if I didn't need to, has helped just make me a more well-rounded employee person, where just have a more well-rounded skill set. So I think just keep learning as much as possible in all areas.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I have led a company, and when somebody says that's not my job, well, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of, I think it's fun to wear a lot of different hats and to just learn things outside of your specific skill set, because you never know when they're going to come in handy.
Yeah, especially when you work in a small company.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
So Macy, what do you want your legacy to be professionally?
Oh, my professional legacy. Especially with the Bruning Law Firm, we're working so hard at building this brand. It's been so fun seeing the impact that it's having, seeing the name recognition that we're getting in St. Louis. I really look forward to that playing out, just seeing how big we can build our name. There's so many big law firms, especially in St. Louis, but all over. And I think it's it's especially exciting to see our growth and to see that, we're becoming one of those big law firms. And I'm just excited to see how far we can take it.
Wonderful. Maisie, it has been a pleasure having you at IMS. Is there anything else you want to tell our audience?
No, I mean, if you ever need legal help in Missouri, Kansas, Illinois, anywhere in the Midwest, you can look us up. We're bruninglegal.com. It's the Bruning Law Firm. But thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thanks for listening to Insight Marketing Success, where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience from vision to execution.